Kia ora everybody and welcome back to a prosperous career after what was a fairly fractured episode last time where we pushed this place to its limit and completely embarrassed the Conservative Party. They tried to hold a revolution and it just didn't work. Although if you look over here at the clout graph, you'll notice the politics of this nation is still very, very confusing. Thankfully, we're 2 years away from an election, and we're in the process, not to bore you too much with things like, laws, but we are in the process of moving towards wealth voting. This will help break apart some of these stronger interest groups at the cost of some authority. However, take a look. We're actually doing not terribly, all things considered. Radicalism is floating around on the rise. Loyalists are going great, but on the decline. Our standard of living is actually some of the best in the region. Let's jump in then and manage this. As a reminder, we are still very much underneath the Chinese empire, and as a result, we're paying them a lot. Take a look at this. Oh, diplomatic packs costing us 20,000 bucks. If we can clear that, we will be absolutely wealthy, and to do that, we're going to need to break away. We're going to need to literally push for independence. I've been working slowly on building up some allies. Great Britain, Russia. Slowly but surely, we are improving relations with these people. And we're cordial with them now. Isn't that right, Vicky? Having a look at these monthly reports that are slowly rolling in, though, I can see that there are some goods that we're in very short supply of. And of course, we have some things to fix. We're building up our army, and we've actually got a reasonable number of battalions, for the fact we didn't have a single general to command them. But more importantly, though, you can see a few issues around the edges. Military goods are incredibly expensive. We're also going to run out of convoys. I believe we're giving up a lot to our overlord. I think that's how it works. I haven't double-checked, but I have a feeling that you lose half of your convoys. Another problem with being stuck under the rulership of this emperor. However, take a look at that. My god, that's a huge army. So what we could try and do is try and time an independence movement with either rising powers from our new friends or wait until they get themselves into another conflict. What are they doing at the moment? A diplomatic play in the Himalayas to fight off a peasant result? That's probably not significant enough, but we'll see. The market screen is still something out of a horror film, although I over-exaggerate slightly. Sulfur is going to be a really difficult one for us because we basically don't have any. We could look to try and move down here as well, an option that I haven't really considered because it's border gore 24/7, but there are a lot of resources down around Indonesia, Malaysia, etc. At the moment, though, this is a colonial hotbed. Holy hell, look at all that. Jeez. And if we're going to expand our army, we're going to need to keep expanding this arms industry. So I'm going to queue up some more. But there are also a couple of other really important things outside of our industrialization, militarization plan that we need to get a hold of. And if I jump into, I think it's one of these, there we go, the political lens. Look at that. The PBs, who are part of the Conservative Party, in this, our core territory, have just such an incredible power. 68,000 of them, shopkeepers, clerks, and bureaucrats. They don't actually outnumber all of these groups. Some are smaller than others, though. The armed forces are the same size as them. What we need to try and do is pull power away from them, pull attraction away from them, and provide more power and opportunity to other groups. One way that we can get two birds with one stone is by looking at our tech tree. Of course, I've been picking out different technologies, trying not to jump over too many as I reach for some more, although I have done that once or twice. That is, generally speaking, in fact, almost exclusively not a good idea, so do as I say, not as I do here. We'll try and refrain from jumping over too many, and instead try and move through in a logical way, right? So, get the shaft mining before you get the nitroglycerin, for example. Back to what I was saying, though, one of the things that we could do is provide a different type of job or a different type of industry. One that we're missing, again, relating back to that tech tree, is going to be our universities, right? These people have no education or limited educational opportunities anyway. And so if we scroll through past the Arts Academy, sorry, we'll come back to that soon. Let's get some universities up in here. Their earnings aren't great, but they will help to shape us in a much better way. More qualifications for the people means more intelligentsia-aligned people. We'll use a bit of paper, but we'll get some innovation as well, so we can start researching all of these texts that we're missing a little bit faster, and maybe try and eclipse the Great Qing Giant to our left. We'll try and import some of the goods that we're short on, of course. It's generally a pretty good idea. We're short on all of our military goods, so I'll try again. These routes, arguably not overly productive, but we have a huge amount of bureaucracy now. So long as our actual trading infrastructure, those convoys and stuff, can keep up, we shouldn't struggle to try and fix some of these demands. As I say that, 15 warnings that we're running out of convoys. Why? I think, again, it's because we're giving up so many to our overlord, and also we're doing a heck of a lot of trading. Okay, so the universities will take around a year to get online. We've got an arms industry coming online beforehand to try and meet some of that demand, and then we'll move through to kind of what we'll call the rest, and then, as you can see, some militarism around year 3. I'm happy to change some of this stuff around later. It's not the end of the world if we don't get the army online right now, of course. Ooh, and the French have started a native uprising play. Go figure. But anyway, we actually have a devout scandal, which is something I wouldn't mind sinking my teeth into. Drop in popularity for you. Oh dear. The people will know of your depravity. Very good. Very good indeed. And in the midst of debate around our wealth voting reforms, which we do want to get through, industrialists, oh god, what do they want? Plus 10% enactment chance, great. Plus 10% attraction for them. Interesting. Or we just get some prestige and keep the playwright to ourselves. That is really fascinating. We're currently at a 26% chance to push this through. I think we might actually give them some more pop attraction instead of trying to push that through faster. 26 is pretty good. Oh god, the next checkpoint is so far away though. Yeah, that is a slight yikes. But I think we'll pursue for one more roll through. There'll be an election between now and then, so that could change things as well. I think I'll just keep it as a watch this space kind of thing. And now we could take their approval away as well, just to really give them a slap in the face. I think we won't though. We'll just piss off the upper strata pops a little bit. What's a little bit of friction between friends? Not a big deal, I don't think. Not a huge deal. A small tweak to the legitimacy of our government, basically we kick the industrialists out, will let us push this through slightly faster. It's still too slow, slower than I'd like, but we'll leave it for now. And remember those pops who didn't like us before? Well, it turns out that they've been having luxurious parties in new lavish urban buildings. Maybe something to do with our university. I don't know, but either way we can make all of these people really happy. Or increase their expected standard of living and make them even more pleased. I think we'll just take the easy loyalism there. No-brainer, I reckon. Well, kind of a no-brainer anyway. While our lack of ports is just bending me over backwards, I'm going to have to put more ports to the top. It's going to slow down the rest of this stuff, but we just have to do this. We're going to be just a peninsula full of ports until I declare independence here. But for the time being, let's scale this up. I just have to, unfortunately, because take a look at this. We'll need to scale down the trade routes a little bit as well as I increase domestic supply. Of course, it's about trying to find a balance. At the moment, it's skewing far too close to ports and, of course, not close enough to our domestic supply. But we're still in the green-ish. We're making money. It's okay. Alrighty, with those extra ports online, I can actually start to bring down some of these oh my god, look at these prices. It would make you cry from all of our orders, from all of our barracks. But you know what? That's just the cost of war. So let's start importing Austrian small arms, known for their, of course, very tiny arms. The price of coal is actually coming down fairly... Nope, it's not. It's just not. Let's get some British lumps of coal in here. And also, we might try and snag some of their... Nope, Spanish. Okay. Neat. Hey, and take a look at this. For a hilarious event, partisan papers. The Conservative Party can get some momentum, which of course we don't want to do, because... actually, hello. It's election time. Oh man, they're just going to run away with this. They are just running away. Okay, we can't give them that, but what we can do is increase the paper mill's building throughput. 2 birds, 1 stone. I like it. Oh, and another monument to the king is looking to be established. That is absolutely, obviously, not something that we're going to do. Let's slap that interest group with a debuff. And as I start to look at my economy fracture, because our ports are under stress, our domestic supply isn't doing enough, I am growing very impatient with the incredible cost that is going towards this diplomatic pact. What I'm unsure of is what our economy will necessarily look like when we come out the other side as an independent state. However, we can't drive ourselves into bankruptcy, and moving perhaps a little more aggressively than the average YouTube viewer or commenter might like. I'm going to push for independence. Now. Yep. We're hand-tied here. We either push and go for progress, or fail trying, I think. God help us all. Okay, so Britain, Russia, France, and, interestingly, the Swedes could be interested in joining us. We have not the best mobilization laws, but enough to keep our trained army, at least. Oh, good luck! I'm so scared. Okay, alright. So we've enacted the play. Now, obviously, it's going to hurt us. Let's take a look. We have one country that we could sway, and we actually can bring them in. It's Great Britain. They have 245 troops mobilized. We might be able to pull them in. As you can see by the rest of these thumbs down, at the moment, we're not able to bring anyone else. Now, the French are going to be the big player. I'm also quite concerned about Russia, because obviously we share a border, right? As great as it would be to have old Vicky over here helping us, she's a very long way away. And does she even have any territories nearby? Yeah, well, kind of. Fiji. Great. What's in the British Navy from Fiji? Okay, anyway, back to the task at hand. What I'm going to do, obviously, is probably not set any more war goals, although, oh my god, this has opened up a whole nother can of worms that I didn't even think about. We could also push to take outer, southern, or northern Manchuria. Let's see. So southern, outer is that massive one. So we'd have a border with Russia and be very close to Japan. Then we have southern, which would be a nice extension of us, but we would be buried within China. Northern? Hello? And northern is just completely separate. That feels like a terrible idea. This would give us a contiguous border and maybe even opportunity for ports and that kind of thing in future. It's also massive, which looks kind of cool. And it is for that reason and that reason alone that I'm also going to try and take Outer Manchuria. Me worried about pushing for independence and also saying, hey, while I'm independent, I'm going to take a big piece of land bigger than me. So take that. All right, great. So what will happen now is, of course, this will move to the escalation phase. And as soon as it gets there, we'll be able to maybe sway the Brits and bring them on board. The election has finished, and the Conservative Party, as you would expect, romped to power. But did they? Oh dear. Okay, so they've picked up the armed forces now. They're a big group, really. A huge group. The industrialists want back into the Liberal Party again, though. They've decided they're not going to run their own party, and actually, they want back in with their mates. And it is for that reason that I'm going to leave our opposition party just like that, in opposition. Let's build up an even stronger Liberal Party, slightly more legitimacy behind us, and continue to try and push through this law, which is, if you remember from a couple of years ago, actually just about to tick over next month. And we've got half a chance of either succeeding or advancing it. But that's not terrible. Not as terrible as this is going to play out potentially anyway. I should probably start to... oh crap, we also have upgrades. I don't think pushing through upgrades is a good idea just before a war, though. I don't know the exact mechanic behind it. Oh, and here's an event. Oh, and we have wealth voting! Oh man, that's fantastic. I'm not sure of the exact mechanic behind it, but I think it will either put difficulty on our markets and therefore we'll be unable to supply them, or there's sort of a cooldown or training up period, if you will. So we might refrain from doing that for now. We do have our wealth voting though, so that's a good chance for us to further radicalize the people who hate us. That's fine. We'll lose a little bit of authority, so I might have to get rid of a why are we... Oh my... What? Wait. Oh my god. Are we... What would... Where'd my diplomatic play go? Did they just... Okay, hold on. What is this? I don't have Manchuria. They are actively at war with the French and in an active diplomatic play in Indonesia, but not with me. I think we did it. I think they... Yes! The Great Qing is back down in our diplomatic play, yielding the primary war goal to us. Right, okay, so a couple of things. What's happened is, and I couldn't exactly tell you why, except for maybe because they're already fighting the French and starting another diplomatic play. They could have had their hands tied, ran out of money, not had the I don't know why, but they gave me independence. We did it, everybody. It was not a single sword or gun was even lifted, allegedly. But because of the way that war goals work at the moment in Victoria 3, and this is changing in a future update, if you haven't seen my update videos, and you didn't already know that, but at the moment, when the AI backs down, they only have to give up the primary war goal, not any other additional war goals that you've added on. So it can actually be a cheeky way to cover your losses, I guess, to move on without having to suffer. And it looks like that's what they've done. On the 24th of September, 1858, the Great Qing backed down to me! Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. To celebrate, we'll say we can't please everyone and hurt the religious group. We're still building up our relationships with the Brits and hurting our relationships with the Chinese, and I think that's totally fine. If we have a look at it, oh my god, look at this graph. Okay, so we're no longer spending a stupid amount of money on a diplomatic pact, and that means that we're making a whole load of cash all of a sudden. Fantastic. Construction goods. Try again, Jumbo. The construction goods cost seems to have gone up. Apart from that, though, everything looks okay. A whole load of errors have come about as well because our economy has fundamentally changed, right? If I have a look, I've never actually broken away on independence before. This is the first time I've done this in a playthrough. So I'm kind of excited about that. It's always fun to try something new. Although this was not how I thought it was going to go. I thought we were going to have the Brits and the French in here and it was going to be a good old World War. Anyway, as you can see, we have our own market. Oh, yes. But also no. But yes, because it's hopefully actually done us a good service. Look at all these inactive trade routes. Oh my god. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. All of the trade routes of old are going out the window. I'm going to tank these ones as well. Sugar in the Korean market. 58%. Really? Is it? Okay. You know what? No. You're gone. Okay. All of our trade has been completely reset. I'm also going to reset one of these taxes. Which one is making us the least amount of money? Looks like it's luxury furniture. See ya. We could check the supply and demand for those goods, but I don't need to. I am running at very high taxes, which is fine, but not ideal. Let's slash government wages down slightly, cut their approval just a little bit for the time being. And then I think by fixing a couple of these really obvious shortages, sulfur's a big one, we should be able to get this economy running just fine on its own. I'm a little concerned about what markets we'll have access to now that we're an independent, but don't forget, still unrecognized regional power. Okay, and I still unfortunately only have one interest to declare. I could put it back on Japan, but I don't think that's a good idea. We have Manchuria as our own. If we want to take some more of these territories in future, I'll have to declare an interest here. Or we could open up trade. And, I actually think that's probably a better idea. We haven't tried the American market much yet. So what I might do is declare an interest in the Pacific coast. And that'll give me Canada, the Americas, Russia, of course, and Mexico. And we'll see if we can get some trade going across the North Pacific, because why not? It's kind of ours now if we ignore Japan. Oh my god! Look at the size of these trade routes. Level 17 wood trade route with Russia. Say that 5 times fast. Let's do it. We don't want to trade with the Chinese if we can help it, because we don't want to prop up them in any way, shape, or form. But if we have to, of course we will. What I'll do, though, is hopefully be able to sweep through and grab a whole lot of trade routes here. Because we built all of those ports earlier, it shouldn't be, touch wood, I say, shouldn't be too difficult. Where I need to, where it works for our economy, I will trade with them. And once we have that American strategic interest online, hopefully I'll be able to fill in some of these blanks. Like, you can see sulfur at the moment, very little, but there are loads of unavailable options. It looks like, actually, if I want to get access to really good sulfur, we should declare an interest in either France or Prussia. So probably a European interest will actually be the way to go. So I might switch over that American one, having literally only just started it. Yeah, I'm going to switch it over to Europe, because I think that'll be better for us. But again, I actually think that this could be the way to go, because here we get France and Britain and also the Netherlands. The one upside, of course, to trading with the Great Qing is that we don't actually need to use any of our convoys because we have a land-based border with them. So while I don't necessarily want to prop them up, it is, of course, pretty beneficial for us. One of the big goods that, no, you don't use it to give yourself a buzz cut, clippers, has just really surged in price since the independence movement. Makes sense, of course. All of our ports are relying on these. Like, everybody's relying on these. We're going to have to try and get some British ones in. And as we look across to Britain, I can't help but feel a little worried that all of our trade routes are just going to be being plundered and intercepted, because they're currently being, taken over by the Austrians. However, actually, if we have a nosy close look at this war, the Brits, of course, have 1 million allies, but they're vastly outnumbered in troops. They had the navy, but they lost it, and they've taken such huge losses. Yet war score remains somewhat even. And it was all over annexing this territory in the British Indian realm. Ridiculous. Okay, what else are we short on? Hardwood. Let's get some just from across the border, I guess. Their economy is probably doing so bad after we stop paying them all this money as well. At least I hope the Chinese economy is flailing now. Any other goods? Artillery. Yeah. We're going to have to rely on the sea again. Hopefully the Brits will be able to get some over to us, considering the situation that they're in at the moment. Oakley dokley, it's also time that we start... Why did I turn into Ned Flanders? I don't know. It's also time that we start changing some of these laws. We're in a really good spot with voting, in that we've pushed quite far towards wealth voting. One that has me a little bit worried is migration, although we do have migration controls, so hopefully that's stopping a whole load of, like, unemployed peasants from rolling through from a suffering China into our economy. Looking through at some areas that are a little weaker, schools, police, colonial affairs, health, we have none of those institutions. That's a problem. In fact, it could very well be the biggest problem. But man, I would love to change the economic system as well. Traditionalism is garbage. Absolute garbage. Who can we get in here to try and shift one of these around? It's going to be a tough push, but if we bring the rural folk into government, which I have done, we might be able to try and push through an agrarianism reform. Again, like I say, as far as I'm concerned, almost anything is better than traditionalism. Would I prefer interventionalism or LF? Maybe, but we'll go with ag. We'll go with ag, and we'll wish them the best of luck. Good news is, with these new trade routes online, it looks like the economy is recovering really nicely. The downside is, of course, that this is pushing through a revolution. However, it looks like it's going to stop around the 82% mark. So, let's see. Ready? Yes, great. All right. So the push to restore landed voting seems to be leveling off at about 82. And therefore, we should be able to just kind of ride this along for about 180 days and hope that it works. And the only good out of all of the ones that were wrong, that I can't either trade in or find some other magical solution for, are our small arms. So, let's queue up, eventually, an additional small arms industry. What we could also do, of course, if we were feeling a little bit on the cheekier side, would be to have a look and see if there are any upgrades available. Unfortunately, rifles are too confusing. We probably need to stay on small arms production instead of cannons, so changing that would be just a flat-out mistake. Merchant guilds are fine. The other option, of course, is that we could set it to auto-expand. We might as well, but it won't really do a lot for us at the minute. And with the economy looking much healthier in an independent Joseon, an independent Korea, I'm willing to bring the taxes down a little bit. This will increase our legitimacy, so laws will pass just slightly faster. And also radicalism from standard of living decreases will go down. And as you can see, while we did have a big surge in radicalism earlier, a new independent Korea is actually feeling not too bad, all things considered. And even with all of the work that I can muster, given the markets that we have access to, as you can see, it's still a little tricky. What's not tricky anymore is to flush the loo and have your dirty business disappear. Congratulations, Korea. We have a modern sewage system. Thank me later. You poor sods. Now, in terms of next technologies, I don't think I need to bother about cash reserves. Over on this side, we could move towards some of the sociological stuff. We could unlock additional political parties and movements with egalitarianism. I also quite like realism because it moves us through a very important but arguably not super practical tree. I think I might focus on military for a while, actually. Army defense could be nice now that we're a new independent nation, of course. But I think we'll get triage. We'll get first aid for our troops. That'll be really important if we want to send them out to conquer something, which, now that we're independent, threats of revolution are going down, we're upgrading the economy. Let's be real, that's probably gonna be my next goal. And so I guess as I round out this episode here, what has been undoubtedly the best episode of the series, at least I hope you think so too, leaves me with a question. Where should we go next? Obviously, we could fight the Chinese, take over some of this land. Or we could build up a little bit more of a fleet and set sail. There are plenty of options down this way which are resource rich. We could head into the Pacific. Hello, Hawaii. Hello, Hawaii. Huh? Huh? We'll think about it. Either way, I'm going to leave it there. The year is 1860, and we are an independent Joseon. How? Thank you very much for watching, everybody, and thanks for supporting the Victoria 3 content and the Let's Play series as well. It means a lot. I really like playing it, and reading through the comments is always really interesting, even if at times you do rightly point out some bad errors. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.